I'd like to talk about the most common reason that database dumps fail when you try to trigger them from the Craft CMS control panel. And I do have a really quick fix for you, and if that's what you're looking for, go ahead and fast forward all the way to the end of this video. The thing is, I thought this would be a perfect time to see what's under the hood and kind of demystify some of the things about Craft and the way that it works if you have time and you want to hang out and are interested. So I'll go ahead and clear this slide and let's just dive right in. If I click this backup button, I get this nondescript error saying that there was just a problem and check the Craft logs. And everybody wishes that it was a more descriptive error, but the thing is, it's not that simple. Let's go ahead and look at the logs. And if I go to my storage folder, my logs in the web log here, and I search, I already know what to look for. I'm searching for MySQL dump. Here's the error. It says it could not create a backup. The shell command MySQL dump and this long shell command wouldn't run. Now, the first thing to do here is to stop and notice that it says shell command. Craft 3, as opposed to Craft 2, runs a shell command with a MySQL dump, if you're using MySQL, of course. But this is what it does to back up the database. Craft 2 actually used like a PHP script, but that had problems if the memory was too low or things like that. So in any case, backups are never as easy as you think they're going to be. Let's cruise on to the end of the file here and see exactly why it happened. And it says that MySQL dump command not found. Well, I find that to be very interesting because I am running MAMP and I am running MySQL that comes with MAMP, and you would think that MAMP knew about its own MAMP stuff, but it doesn't. And this is also this can also happen on Amazon. I've seen it happen on Amazon EC2 where you're running MariaDB on RDS or something like that. So this isn't just limited to MAMP. So what I'm going to do is go into a terminal session here. And if you are the kind of person who says, I don't do terminal, I don't do command line stuff, then I hope that you'll just stick with me and watch, because I think this will demystify some stuff. Let's talk about at the risk of being pedantic, let's talk about a very simple command, and that is ls. So it's the first one that you learn whenever you open up a command line, and it lists out the contents of the directory that you're in. The thing is, have you ever wondered where ls lives? Like, how did this know where to find that program? Because ls is actually a file that lives somewhere on the computer, and when I type this as a command, it goes and finds that file and it runs it. Well, we can find out very quickly here. Let me clear the screen, and if I say which ls, it tells me where it found it. Well, I think that's very interesting too, because if the word which is used, that implies that it's possible there might be more than one on my computer. Well, what made it pick this one in particular if there is more than one? Let's look at that. Let's go echo path. And path is a variable that's available in my session here. And it's a colon-separated list of directories where it should look for executables, these commands. So in the case where I type ls, it looks in this directory first, doesn't find it, looks in this one, doesn't find it, looks in this one, and it finds it, and then that's the one that it runs. If there is another one that happens to be in this one down here, doesn't matter because it's never going to get that far. So these are set in order of priority. The last thing I want to show you about this is that you can run any command specifically that you want to by typing the full path to the command. So if I type /bin/ls, it will do the same thing because I've been very specific about which ls that I wanted to run. Now, if there happened to be, now there isn't, but if there happened to be one in sbin, I could type sbin ls and it would run that one instead. With that in mind, let me clear the screen and let's talk about MySQL dump, that command that couldn't be found. If I try to run it, it can't find it. And of course, if I were to say which MySQL dump, it wouldn't return anything. That's because I don't have MySQL installed on my Mac just generally, because I use MAMP and it comes with MySQL and MySQL dump. So let's go find that. It is in Applications. I know this because I've Googled this like 1 million times. Applications, MAMP, Library, bin. And in here you will find, I'm not going to go find it, but in here you'll find MySQL. Oh, there it is. MySQL, and MySQL dump is down here somewhere too. So now that I know the path, I can actually run that command. Applications, MAMP, library, bin, MySQL dump. And I didn't actually, create a dump, but I'm just showing you like I can run that command. Now that's going to be very annoying to have to type that out every time. So what I would like to do is add this folder to my path so that it automatically looks there. And I want it to look there first. Well, there is a way to do that, and I'm going to show you how real quick. If I go to my home directory, I can see all of my hidden files, these files that start with a dot. And if you don't on your Mac, just press Command-Shift-Dot and it will toggle the view. I'll do that right now, and it hides them. And then I'll do it again, Command-Shift-Dot, and it shows them. And there's this file in here called .bash_profile. And if you don't have one, just create one, name it that, because by virtue of naming that, it's something that gets run when you open up a new terminal window. I'm going to drop this in Sublime Text because it's easy to edit and show you that to edit the path, you just overwrite it, really. I'm not going to go into a deep dive in the rest of this stuff here, but let's just do this. So the way you define like a global variable is you just say export, and oh, there we go. And then we're not going to create a new variable, but we're going to overwrite the existing path, and we'll give it the path to applications, MAMP, library, bin. And of course, we still need the rest of the path so it can find ls and all the other stuff that we're used to using. So we'll append the original path at the end here, but again, they are colon separated. So I'm going to save this and then show you a common error that happens. You would think that I could just say, oh, well, if I say echo path again, that, oh, here we go, that it would have that there. But the thing is, this is a session, and this is an important concept to understand. A session is something that starts at a certain point in time and it runs under a user. So this is running under SAM, and that user has certain permissions and different paths. And the reason that's important is because when you initiate a request from the browser over here, that actually runs in a different session and has a different path, but I'll show you that in a minute. To fix this problem, we have to exit this session and start a new one. And now when I say echo path, our path is there. And if I say which MySQL dump, it can find it. And this is fantastic. Let me show you how to use MySQL dump. I can say MySQL dump and then offer the credentials that I would give Craft to connect to the database. So -H is for host. So I say localhost, and let's see, user is root, password, so it's -P. Now in this one, you don't leave a space, by my experience anyway. If you do, it doesn't work. And the database is named craft underscore, I believe it's temp. Let's make sure here. Yeah, it's temp. And then you spit it out, and you can just pick a file name, backup.sql. Now, hold on here, because this tilde means that I'm in my home directory, and my home directory is quite crowded. But in my home directory lives my desktop directory, so let's go ahead and stick it there. Desktop, backup SQL. And we'll run it. And now if I go to my desktop, we have that file. And if we look at it in Sublime Text, it is indeed a backup from MySQL. Fantastic. Now let's look at the PHP session. If we go to, actually, let's go here. In the web directory, I added a file here called shell.php. And let's go ahead and use it to echo an environmental variable. So get env and path, and see what PHP's path looks like. So I'll go grab this and go to shell command, or the shell script that we just wrote. And of course, library, applications MAMP library bin doesn't exist on this one. Now, we could try to add it to this, but I don't find that as very reliable, especially in the case of MAMP, because what if you reinstall MAMP, upgrade it or something, then that's going to change back to its original state. It's going to be very frustrating. The best thing that we can do, well, we have two options. Let me show you the first option. Is that if we go to docs.craftcms.com and search for backup command, there is a config setting that you can use to set your own command and just override crafts. So I could just put that there and go into my config folder in general, and then say in the dev, maybe I'm the only developer who cares about this, I could say backup command and then applications, path to MySQL dump, and create my own command here, and then that would be the one that would run, and that's awesome. The only thing is I prefer not to, because the default one by Craft is actually super, super nice. It doesn't dump all of your caches and your asset indexes and things like that it would take up a lot of extra space sometimes, and you don't really need to import them into another environment. In fact, you would import them and then go clear all your caches. So in my ideal world, the command that Craft uses, I would just replace MySQL dump with the full path to that. So I'm going to show you how I solved that, and I'm going to stop getting too far into the weeds here. I'm just going to show you something that I made for you. It's I'm going to go to packages.org. This is where composer packages, most of the public ones, live. And if you search for craft-db-paths, I created a package here, which is a module, by the way, not a plugin. I don't feel like this should be a plugin, and I should try to, submit this to the plugin store, because it really is like for edge cases, and it's a developer tool. So let's go to the instructions here, and we'll install it with Composer. On the command line here, let me go to CD and projects. I need to get into that actual project. So it's in mine, temp, make sure that we have the right project and that is correct. So I will copy this installation command here and run it. And while that loads up, let me show you some things about it. A module is different than a plugin because it doesn't get activated from the control panel. You actually have to tell Craft that it exists as a module, and then you have to bootstrap it. So with that in mind, I will copy this line right here and go to my app config, and Craft ships with a blank module for you to play with if you want to. I'm going to tell it that I have this one available, and then I don't want to bootstrap the other one because it's not being used for anything, but I do want to bootstrap this one. That just means it'll fire up when a web request comes in. And the next thing that this does for you is that it just lets you specify a path to MySQL and do the full path. If you need to use it for Postgres, then the PSQL and the PG dump commands can be aliased here as well. So I'm going to just copy these because this is from exactly this situation right here, and I'll drop them into my .env file, save that, and cross my fingers. Let's do the backup, and it worked. Total success. And let's go look at the backup folders. And well, there's a few that I've done over time here. So what I really like about this is that it uses Craft's super nice backup command, but you just get to tell it where the executables are. So I hope that this was fun. I hope it was helpful, and I hope that you enjoy using Craft.